As the way I was sort of introduced, my name is Muimeleli Mutangwa, and I'm an executive director of the Center for Emerging Researchers. And I've been invited here to basically speak about the importance of mentorship for postgraduate students and early research career researchers, and how to basically ensure that happens. And this is not working. Oh, it's not on. All right. Oh, sorry. I don't know how this one got here, but congratulations to the Springboks for taking this team home. This is a beautiful picture. I actually like it.
The down is to get to the next one.
Working.
I've worked it out.
Yeah, I've worked it out. So basically, the Center for Emerging Researchers, it's when I do next. All right, thanks for that. The Center for Emerging Researchers brings together a network of African emerging researchers to contribute towards the generation, application, and advancement of eligible alternative solutions to African developmental challenges. And we basically do this or pursue this particular objective through the coordination of interdisciplinary research collaborations, sector-specific policy dialogues, capacity building, training, and support for emerging African researchers. And currently, we have managed to sign a 5-year research collaboration agreement with the University of Johannesburg, which is quite exciting because it sort of validates the kind of work that we do. And one of the things that we have noted is that there is a challenge as far as the postgraduate studies are concerned, as far as South African students. And one of the things that we have identified is that postgraduate qualifications for South African students becomes the thing that they do when there's nothing else they can do. And one of the major reasons is this misalignment between their financial, their personal family responsibilities with the financial rewards of basically doing research. So if a high-performing student gets an offer somewhere else in a different company, chances are they're going to run with that particular opportunity as opposed to pursuing postgraduate opportunities. And that leaves a lot of people who end up doing postgrads. They end up doing it because that's the last thing that they can do. And if something comes up, then they don't even think twice. They can drop it and leave anytime. And then number 2 is the shift of the kind of areas of competencies that are rewarded. And then here it basically speaks to, if you look at people who are progressing in corporate, it's not necessarily because of the highest qualification, but it's because of their leadership skills or their other soft skills. So students are picking that up. And then as a result, they are not that attracted to pursuing postgraduate opportunities. And thirdly is the industry perception around the field of academia or research in general, because industry doesn't necessarily respect academia because they think it's too theoretical. And as a result, students are also picking that up, and as a result, postgraduate opportunities are not that attractive to them. And then fourthly, it's all about, meaning and purpose. I think students these days are they want a reason why they are supposed to spend their life, 2 years of their lives, if it's a master's, dedicating it to this specific project. And then if you look at most research areas, when they come up with their research question, it comes from a paper. And then the research output, it goes back to a paper, and then that's where it ends. And students these days are not interested in that. They are not motivated by that. And that's basically the reason why postgraduate opportunities are not preferred by most high-performing students. And I was a victim of that. When I completed when I was busy with my master's degree in chemical engineering at Wits, I built a mathematical optimization model for the optimization of chemical manufacturing processes. I was then invited to China in an academic conference to present my work. My work was received very well. I even got some awards there. And then when I came back to South Africa, people were very excited. I was invited to, TVs, and I did a couple of interviews. And then I realized that, okay, maybe this means that the work that I've done, since it has been internationally accepted, maybe there is something solid about this work. Then I decided to say, okay, why don't I try to offer this as a service to different companies that, that will benefit from this. And then I started trying to meet up with a couple of companies in the manufacturing space. They accepted to see me. I went there, presented, and they were like, yeah, we see this. This is good. But who are you? Right. And I was extremely disappointed by that. Simply because I was just a young student from a village who decided to do masters, and I did it very well. And now the work that I'm doing can't be accepted in industry because, who am I, right? And then when I came back to RES, I received the NRF funding, which was not enough. So it basically covered my tuition and living expense and my accommodation, but it couldn't do much as far as my living expenses are concerned. So I was not forced because I enjoyed it, but I ended up washing shoes for my fellow students. And because of my chemical engineering background, I was also able to formulate my shoe cleaning detergent that I basically used to clean people's shoes. And that was received very well. I mean, I won awards from the National InterVarsity Business Pitch Competition, the World IP Day through TIA, I won some awards there, the African Innovation Awards, I won some awards there, and I was able to create employment, I have a shop, so that's running and it's going well. And the kind of satisfaction that I received, I started getting an appreciation or an understanding in terms of what postgraduate students are actually really looking for. They are looking for working on research projects of which the research outputs, they can actually be able to implement them, apply them, and that's the kind of satisfaction that they're looking for, not publishing papers. So when we started the Center for Emerging Researchers in 2017, we realized that, okay, if you want to support postgraduate students, there are 3 areas that you need to look into. The first one is obviously financial support. You need to give them grants, you need to give them scholarships. Just make sure they're not worried about the food or a place to sleep, right? That's extremely important. And then 2 is the technical support, and this can be provided by the academic supervisor. And it helps with, as students, my postgraduate students needs to have rigor and depth on a particular subject matter, which is very important. They need to understand different research methodologies and tools of analysis. That's very important, and that becomes the responsibility of an academic supervisor. But now, we also need to add another layer of mentorship support. And this can actually be done outside of the academic supervisor, and it's one of the areas that the Center for Emerging Researchers sort of looks into. And the first focus there is basically personal mastery, to ensure that a student understands who they are, right? You literally get a lot from a particular student if that particular student understands who they are, what drives them, what moves them, etc. And it's quite an important aspect of making it in academia or any other space. 2, we expose them or train them in terms of how they can be in terms of this concept of high performance culture and professionalism, which is important because some students who finish postgrads are unable to perform when you put them in other spaces, other in industry and whatnot. And that sort of compromises the people's perception towards postgraduate qualifications. But it can actually be solved by teaching postgraduate students about high performance culture and also professionalism. Thirdly is the 4 C's of the 21st century: creative thinking, collaboration, what's the other one? But there are 4 of them, right? But there's another article that I saw, they've added 3 more, so it's like 7 C's of the 21st century to say if you want to survive in this new century, these are some of the skills that are actually compulsory. So we sort of also focus on ensuring that students or the postgraduate students that we mentor, they are sort of competent as far as those areas are concerned. And then thirdly, it's about linking ambition and passion with career development. So basically, the research that you're doing, how does it fit as far as your life is concerned and what you want to do with your life? is very important. When students are able to see what they're doing fits in terms of their long-term goals in life, because they're able to place it in their life, they then take it very seriously. And then fourthly, it's about meaning and purpose. And we do this through our collaborative research consulting services. So in the main, the Center for Emerging Researchers does mentoring for postgraduate students, and we also offer collaborative research consulting services. So basically, what do we do here? So we basically go knocking in different companies. We ask or government agencies or whoever is willing to listen. We then ask them to tell us about their issues, whatever issues that they're experiencing. And then we translate that particular issue into a research problem. And then we come and look at the network of our researchers, but obviously the senior researchers who have been through the personal mastery and are actually, in terms of, they've sort of picked up this high performance culture. So they actually, those are the researchers that we call our senior researchers. And then we then create or put together a diverse team, right? So you'll then get maybe a team consists of someone from engineering, someone from law, someone from accounting, someone from somewhere, right? And then why is that important? That's important because at the end of the day, the research outcome or the recommendation that we then go give to that particular client becomes a holistic or a watertight solution. It has incorporated the law perspective in there, the health science perspective in there, the engineering perspective in there. And then we have realized that corporate are actually liking the kind of solutions that we then sort of present to them. And that becomes experience and extra money for these researchers who are part of our network. And there are quite a number of success stories that we have basically using this particular model. And then this year, we were very fortunate. We collaborated with the Department of Science and Technology then, before they changed. And then we attended a technopreneurship workshop in Malaysia for 5 days. And then there, we were in the same room. So it was 27 participants from 17 different developing countries. And then we basically spent a week together there in Malaysia. And when all these participants from all these other emerging countries, we then realized one thing, that as emerging countries, our issues are all the same, or we are trying to find the same, our struggles are the same, right? We are all trying to build a better post-colonial society, and most of our major challenges are similar. It's unemployment everywhere, it's poverty everywhere, it's inequality everywhere. But what was interesting is the approach that different countries were sort of taking. Others, they are taking more and more debt to try to solve the same problems. But others are actually focusing a lot on research development and innovation, right? And we sort of all agree to say maybe the best way to solve the challenges that we're experiencing is through entertaining or looking into the knowledge economy. And the first thing when you talk about the knowledge economy is what do you do with your research output, right? In South Africa, the slogan is publish or perish. In other countries such as your Malaysia, where they are really pushing this hard, it's protect, publish, or perish. So it's protect first. So they are sort of focused towards generating IP. And then what you do with that IP, you can license it, you can sell it, or you can sort of start a spin-off company that is basically based on that. So research is all about creating knowledge. But why is the process of generating knowledge important? It's important because it assists us in the context of the knowledge economy. It assists us to develop new markets, to offer new benefits, a sustainable economy, improving reputation of the institutions, and building the actual knowledge economy. But if the kind of research that we are doing is only improving the reputation of the researcher and the institution and not doing any other thing, is it really that necessary? And I don't think I'll answer that question. But if you want to extract, or if you want the kind of knowledge that you are generating to actually have multiple or more of those reasons that I was showing now, a concept that the other countries are focusing on a lot is called the end user-driven research and development. So every research topic, it comes from issues in society. Right. Even before a research question is accepted at the University of Malay, a student needs to justify or explain or convince the panel how is the research outcome of this particular research going to add value in your society. If they can't answer that question, that research question or problem is not going to be accepted. And maybe that's one of the things that we might want to consider also here in South Africa. This is just the model for commercialization process of innovation that basically speaks from that. But I think this one I won't go into detail because I'm looking at the time now. But for the various stakeholders that needs to be involved, it's government, industry, academia, and community. And I was asking, yes, our executive director here, earlier, when she was explaining how this triple helix, she said it's about government, industry, and academia. And I was asking her, where's community there? And then she says, no, it's somewhere in there, but it's there. But you cannot exclude community from this discussion because that's where the research question is supposed to come from, and that's where the research output are supposed to go. And the role of each participant or stakeholder is listed here. I won't go through it, but it's also it will be in the slide that you'll then have access to. But each stakeholder has a role to play as far in the knowledge economy. And then how do we transfer this particular knowledge? And I think this speaks to the various career opportunities that are available to researchers. One of which is consultancy. Secondly is going to industry as a graduate, doing collaborative research like what we are doing from a consulting point of view, generating IP that can be licensed, generating IP that can be a basis of basically establishing a spin-off company. Oh, sorry. Okay, various ways of protecting your IP, but if you are considering cost, but obviously the TTO office, or if you are in an academic institution, will assist you with this. But if you are doing your research outside and the cost is an issue, the trade secret becomes, the most attractive option. It's like Nando's. No one knows their spice. They didn't patent it. They just make sure that nobody knows about it. And it works. The pros and cons of doing licensing and spin-off, and like I said, these are some of the stuff that you can also read on as far as when you get access to these slides. The responsibilities or the role of technology transfer offices. And I think in South Africa, what we have picked up is that most companies are not, or most researchers or research centers are not necessarily working closely with the technology transfer offices. And these are the offices that are supposed to be responsible for the commercialization or what to do with your research output. So maybe if there are researchers in the room or people with influence, they might want to see if they can strengthen the relationship between technology transfer offices as well as different researchers. Because the TTO office, that's where the research questions are supposed to be coming from. They are supposed to have discussed with industry to say, what kind of technologies do you guys want? And then the researchers work on them. And then the TTO office then facilitate that process of either selling or licensing or whatever that you can do with the research output. When we were at the University of Malay, we met this guy called, his name is a bit complex, but he was a master's student and he's running a company called Micro. And amongst other things, Micro, which is based inside the university, right? So this guy has office space inside the university. It's building and selling 3D printers to local schools, and it also does rapid prototyping. And at the time, they were done building a remote-controlled bomb diffusing robot that was going to be adopted by the local police department at a value of around 12 million rands when I converted. And this is a student who's doing the master's. His master's qualification in mechanical engineering. And he has a relationship with his supervisor and it's going well. But on the side, he has a mentor and the university is supporting him to run a business that is in line with what his master's is all about. These four ladies, They are operating inside of the university as well, and they have a patent from that was facilitated, or they were assisted by the TTO office, and they have received an order to manufacture huge quantities of highly specialized chemical additives that will be used by one of the biggest gloves manufacturers in the world to produce gloves that will be used to handle food in the 2020 Olympics in Japan. So they are also running inside the university. They are using the university equipment to do their research, but when the machine is not working, they use the same machine to actually produce products for their business, and the university has sort of supported them to basically do that. And they are receiving orders, they are making a lot of money. This other guy also, he is a PhD candidate in mechanical engineering. He's running a company that is based inside the university as well, and they are using high-resolution image acquisitions and processing to digitize artifacts and build augmented reality. They are also currently working with local museums to help them create visual reality museums. So this guy his clients are local museums, and he's assisted them to create visual reality museums. So you wear those things and you can see the entire museum. Not only to maximize the experience of the visitors, but also to preserve their history and culture. And his PhD includes developing an algorithm for identifying defects when scanning high-res artifacts. So this is he's running a business, and his master or PhD project is also in line with the business that is running, and he's supported by the university. So how many in South Africa supervisors encourage their students to do something else outside of that? And that's why you end up having a situation where people are done with their postgraduate qualifications, but they can't even find jobs. And you might find that there were actually opportunities to help them create their own jobs inside there if they were mentored or supported correctly. This guy is also interesting, but I think you read his story when I give you the thing. We also received an opportunity to join the University of Johannesburg, Wits, Gibbs, University of Free State, Univen, University of Pretoria, and then we went to tour Israel to basically understand the innovation ecosystem of Israel. And when you get there, something similar that we picked up in Malaysia is that when you talk millionaires or billionaires or people with money, you are talking about people who are in academia. You are talking about professors. But in South Africa, it's a bit different. Professors don't have the money. But that side, professors have the money because they are working closely with the research TTO offices. And when they build technologies or when they build solutions, their research outputs becomes IP that is sold. It becomes IP that is commercialized one way or the other. And that's how they make their money. That's how they get their cut. And that's the main focus. And then with Israel, it's a bit worse because their research space is so strong to an extent that even the research and development departments of global companies are actually based that side because of how strong their research and development space is. So maybe that can be something that we can also, that can be a level that we can also get to if we take research serious. These pictures, these pictures showed up again, but they are nice pictures. And they were all taken by this guy here. He is one of our beneficiaries as well, who's currently completing his master's in this. He assists us when we have research consulting projects in the ethnographic space. But he's so interested also in photography, and we've sort of mentored him and encouraged him to do that, parallel to him doing his master's qualification. And right now, he's working very closely with the Wits communications and marketing office, to an extent that when there's an event, he's the one who goes text them. When they post things online, just know it's his pictures. But that would have been a lost art or a revenue stream for him if he was not encouraged to do it just because he's doing his master's. So hence, as we believe that when you're mentoring someone, yes, get them to perform highly so that you don't compromise their studies, but parallel to that, work on the person to see what is it that they're interested in, and you sort of mentor them or encourage them to continue doing what they need to do, or if that's their passion. And the guy who's standing next to him, his name is Chivumu, friend/brother, I call him Vubson. And then he also, as he was doing so he finished electrical engineering and then did his MBA at the West Business School. And then he started a company called Lamore Solar. And Lamore Solar now is big, very, very big. Currently, they finished a 1 megawatt solar system at the CSIR. In the past I think last week, if not the other week, President Ramaphosa sort of announced one of the projects that they've done successfully. They are generating revenues that are quite attractive. And he is a senior researcher at the Center for Emerging Researchers. He is doing his studies, but we are also encouraging him, and now he's mentoring others and encouraging them to do other things outside of that, because you don't want graduates, postgraduates, people who graduate with postgraduate qualifications who don't get employment when there was so much opportunities or so much other things that they could have done. More of our senior researchers. The guy at the top here, his name is Rendani. He's wrapping up his PhD also in innovation. And I think I saw his supervisor here somewhere, Prof. Sina from the University of Johannesburg. But today he has made it to the Commission of Fourth Industrial Revolution. He's advising the president, And Elmond, he completed his honors also in electrical engineering. But when he was raised, his father raised him through fixing watches. So his father will fix watches for people, and that's how he get money to raise him. And he learned the skill of fixing watches, and then he now decided to say, okay, this was my passion. I love watches. I'm attracted to watches, to an extent that he started by fixing people's watches also this side, but he has now designed his own watch and he's manufactured watches. So if you want, it's called Nkari, and it's doing very well as well. Maurice, he's also one of our senior researchers from a village in Venda, and he's completing his PhD in higher education management at the University of Bath in the UK. And he was the one leading our research team that was focusing on the funding model of the free higher education. So if you check, you might see his face often, because the free higher education policy we also had our own research team that sort of contributed significantly towards that. And I mean, the person who did our numbers was a PhD in actuarial science. So and that's why maybe our recommendations were then accepted. So as far as mentoring research, what we've picked up is that emerging researchers are not just interested in research, they are also interested in its application, its development, innovation in a true definition of the word innovation. And then we also wrapping up by saying mentorship is it's important for growing and empowering emerging researchers into the from emerging researchers into Africa's leading researchers. They need to be mentored over and above being supported by a supervisor, over and above being supported financially. And also, academic and research institution can outsource this research, this mentorship function to a third party, just like the Center for Emerging Researchers or any other third party that is interested in doing work in that particular space. But most importantly, we believe that the TTO offices or the DVC of research offices needs to be capacitated so that they're able to take up this particular function. But it is extremely important if you want to produce high-quality researchers of tomorrow. And I'm happy to take research questions that I can take back. Thank you very much.